Hi, guys, and welcome. This is Jen Gaeta Siciliano, artist, memoir writer, bipolar psychiatric survivor, and your host of Not As Crazy As You Think podcast, the place that offers an alternative perspective on mental illness, highlighting creativity, non-conventional healing, and breaking on through to the other side. If you are ready for a new narrative on the mental realm that celebrates crazy and cool without penalty, then Not As Crazy As You Think is for you. Hello, this is Jen Gaeta Siciliano, your host of Not As Crazy As You Think podcast. You know, it is my fourth anniversary of this podcast, 4-year anniversary, and it's really wild because today I'm lucky enough to have my first guest, Mr. Don DiBenedetto, who was my ultimate history teacher and an amazing spiritual counselor, really, throughout my life. So I want to, and he's been on several podcasts, and I welcome him back because every time he comes on, people love him. And he has his own little following on TikTok and Instagram, but we'll get to that. Mr. D, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure, Jennifer. My pleasure. Can't believe it's been 4 years.
I can't believe it. To revisit this, it's so wild because I remember talking about it and wanting to do this and thinking, like, who can I invite to make this happen? I knew that if I enrolled someone like you to help me record that first episode, like, it would get off the ground, and it did. So, you know, I thank you, and I'm thankful for you today on this, Thanksgiving weekend.
If I may say, it's also a tribute to you, honey, because you took the first step.
Yeah.
You know, nothing magical happens in the comfort zone.
Right.
You decided to step out of your comfort zone and create something, and you had no experience before.
No.
Look where you are now. It's fantastic. Fantastic.
It's wild. It's wild. But, it's such a good experience and as a reference for my life now, because I can point to that getting out of the comfort zone. And I will tell you, it was very I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of went with it. I learned it as I went. And I committed to the vision because all those other little pieces fell into place just by me having this goal of, okay, I'm going to be up and running in a month, that time. So yeah, it is evidence that, when you do things like that, I don't know, you just bring in a bigger net of fish. You know what I mean? When you cast it larger, you just bring it in bigger. And I just never thought it would, I never thought I would be involved with something like that. But when, like I said, the vision that hit, it was like, how? And then that just opened up the universe to show me how. Because I didn't know all the details, You
went with the flow. Jennifer, it's like the story of the two little boys when the family buys the farm in Oklahoma during the Great Depression. And the father says to the two boys, all right, guys, your first job is to clean the barn. And the first kid arrives and looks at the barn. It's full of horse manure. And he sighs and, oh, my God. The second kid arrives in the barn, sees all the horse manure and says, there must be a pony. This is how the universe works. When you say to yourself, there must be a pony, guess what? That pony will bring his friends, and more ponies will arrive, and more ponies will arrive, and the abundance will flow. That's how the universe works.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you focus on the manure will get smellier or whatever.
Right.
So you decided to direct your focus and to go for it. I love it. And you appreciated every step because the process is the most fun.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We started doing these podcasts and a few of these episodes. We've done 3 before this one. And, right afterwards, you kind of started going further into expressing yourself on social media. So now you have a TikTok channel. Now you have an Instagram, you do Facebook, you do it all. But it's so great because you do these little, what is it, 30 seconds? Are they 30 seconds or a minute?
30 seconds, 1 minute.
Okay. And it's just such I invite people to connect to and follow you, and we'll give all that information at the end for sure. But and it'll be in the show notes. But it's just great because if you ever want to just get like tons of little anecdotes, which we'll also explore here, um, it's a great thing to just tap into. How do you prepare for all those things? I love how like I literally am floored by you're in a different location every single time. Like, are you being intentional with that?
Yes, with the location, I try to find a nice area because one of the first, I think Mark Twain or somebody said, one of the first decisions you have to make in life is this a friendly universe or not?
Mm,
I want the world to see that this universe is beautiful,
yeah.
unbelievable. And wherever I may be, if I see something pretty, I'll try to do a video in front of that. To just to let people see that this is a beautiful world, it's a beautiful universe, and hopefully that'll bring a positive energy to them, even if the words don't ring a bell, or resound with them. At least the nature and the water and whatever it may be, might have a positive influence on.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we want to make sure that we know and let everybody else know that this is a friendly, wonderful universe. We always say that this is a yes universe. Once you say yes to it, it aligns and you will meet people and you will have experiences and you will have opportunities that it's surprising. And it reaches a point where it's not even surprising anymore. It's like, this is how the universe works. It's an amazing thing. Look at you. You started with an idea, a goal, a vision. Things fell into place. Bump, 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 bump. You met all these people. You went to conferences. People wanted to be. That's how the universe works. It's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah. So for us, we don't believe that things happen to us. We believe that the universe is responding to us.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, why is this happening to me? It's a good lesson for us to sit back. Okay, where's my energy? Am I being negative? Am I, resentful? Am I angry? Am I resisting? Whatever it may be, all these energies that hold us back, and let them go. And oh my God, opportunities arise like crazy. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And that's another thing I wanted to like touch upon a little too, this idea of how do you kind of usher in change? Because I think that a lot of people, it could just be a personal thing in their own life. Like things happen, especially this time of year when, we deal with family members that trigger us. The holiday season, we love them, but it's that type of sentiment. How do people usher in change in a way that kind of speeds up the manifestation and also like let go of things that maybe need to be cleared out of your life so that other positive things can come in? Because one of the things that I think that a lot of people have really good intentions to bring new things in, but they're not clearing anything away. So there's like no room, there's no vacuum. How do people like detach? Because part of holding on to things is that, they comfort us, they make us feel that we have some control. How do you get to that stage where you're like, okay, I can let go of this relationship or this situation or this idea. Like it's very hard. I think that people have their, grips on things for security, for comfort. How do you move into that stage?
Well, first of all, Jennifer, any change involves facing a fear.
Mm,
One person once said, everything that I want is on the other side of fear.
mm,
And we have to look at this fear and say, okay, is this fear founded? Is it unfounded? Is it imaginary? Is it something that the media has told me? Or, maybe your caregivers have put a lot of fear in you. Not that they're bad or mean, but they were fearful themselves and they were protective. So they limited you.
mm.
I know a couple of young kids who had the opportunity to go to Italy to study for a semester. and they declined because they would be away from home for too long and so forth and so on. I know parents, children I taught who, when the kids told me they wanted to go to like UCLA or something, the parents got so nervous and scared. And one family, they told the girl, if you stay home for college, go to Iona, we'll buy you a car. And the girl wanted to go to somewhere in California or something like that. See, so it's not that they're mean or bad, but they're fearful, and their fear has rubbed off on us.
Yeah.
Jennifer, there are some nice techniques if I could go over them.
Please.
Yeah. One technique that we should use to overcome this fear is write down everything that you have overcome in your life thus far. We forget. I mean, there are people out there who are afraid of whatever, and they've overcome cancer. They've overcome car accidents. They've overcome diseases. They've overcome terrible breakups. They've overcome death in their families. They don't realize, wow, I was strong. I was bold. I was brave in all these situations. So I think we should all write down everything that we've overcome and everything we have achieved.
Nice.
Because we forget it. We remember our failures. But I think we should write down, wow, I overcame this broken relationship, this abusive relationship, this, financial failure, this, somebody stabbed me in the back in business or whatever it may be. And I survived and I have moved on and got stronger and wiser. So one tool we use is write down everything you've accomplished, everything you've overcome, affirming a wonderful. A butterfly doesn't know. It's so beautiful. It's so uplifting. It's so fantastic. We're like the butterfly. We don't know.
Yeah.
What we've done and what we've accomplished and what we can do and accomplish. So that's one thing. Another thing, Jennifer, for those who believe in a higher power, I think that we should all write down any God incidences, synchronicities, any serendipitous things that have happened in our lives that, wow, that happened at just the right time. I'll tell you two little stories. I had a girl in my class, and we used to do God incidences. And I'd say, write down, go home, talk to your parents, and go through any God incidences that your parents have had or you've had. And this girl came back, and I read them all, and I said, would you mind if I read yours to the class? And what happened was, every Sunday morning, she went with her grandfather to the bakery after church, Christian family, and they would buy buns and bread and whatever, and come back to the house, have a big breakfast. But one Sunday, she said, I don't want to go. And the grandfather was devastated. And the parents were like, but you always go with Grandpa every Sunday. She said, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. So she didn't go. The grandfather, after church, went by himself. A car went through a red light and crashed right into the passenger side of the car.
Oh, my God.
Jennifer, write this stuff down. What? Look at the connection to the universe that we have. We forget it.
It's amazing.
Another story. This is unbelievable. My cousin is a veterinarian, and he went to school in Italy to be a veterinarian, and he came back in America, passed the test. He's wonderful. And a friend of his who studied with him in Italy, who we didn't see for 20 years, came into the veterinary office and had a sick dog, I think, and came in, and my cousin Anthony came out and, we're going to take care of your dog. And the guy looked at my cousin Anthony. My cousin Anthony, for some reason, his shirt was unbuttoned, and the guy saw a lump right there. He hasn't seen my cousin in 20 years. He said, I want you in my office tomorrow morning. My cousin went to the guy's office next morning. He had some kind of Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Oh, my.
Caught it right at the beginning. My cousin Anthony's as healthy as a horse now.
Wow.
We have all had these experiences. That rock that just missed our eye. The doctor's diagnosis that, oh, my God, one more day and you would have been blind. we all have had these wonderful, wonderful God incidents or serendipitous incidents or whatever you want to call it, synchronicity. If we keep these in mind, I like to write these all down.
Yeah.
Say, look at what happened there. That was amazing. This was amazing. I mean, there's hundreds of them, hundreds.
Yeah.
Write down everything you've accomplished. And a little trick. There's a doctor, Dr. Daniel Amen. He's a specialist. He's fantastic.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. Because our brains are so complicated.
Yeah.
And what he did was he said he tells a lot of his clients when they get anxious, give their anxiety a name. So my grandmother, Millie, my father's mother, was a very nervous person, worried about it. And she would worry about this, if we were 2 minutes late or whatever it may be. So when I get anxious, I say to myself, Millie, take it easy. There's nothing to be nervous about. And you make it laughable.
Yeah.
You make it funny. And if you could laugh at your anxiety and you could laugh at these unfounded fears, you're 3/4 of the way home.
Yeah, absolutely.
3/4 of the way home. So as far as dealing with a lot of these things in our mind, we can break through the fear. These are 3 little techniques. I saw another one where this girl said, okay, you're having a dinner party and your sister is late and your mind starts running. Oh, she's driving alone. She's a young girl. Then what could happen? And then in order to slow it down, she said, write the story, write the script. Okay, she got a flat tire. Oh, a man stopped his car and he's coming over to her car. Oh my goodness, she doesn't know this man. She looks up, it's Brad Pitt. And then you laugh about it.
Right.
Laugh about these fears because many of them are.
Well, it's true. They say if, like most of the things we worry about never happen. So it's like we're expending all that energy, right? Yeah, these things to keep in mind to keep our like kind of our frontal thinking rooms clear. You
Good way
know,
to put it.
yeah. I mean, because it's so easy to fill it up with all our own, ideas about what's really going on. But so often it's wasted energy.
Wasted energy. Any resistance, any resentment is just grinding. It's a grinding energy. And the sad thing is that all these internal energies, all these resistances of anger and resentment, they have a profound effect on the body.
Yeah, right.
How many people have digestive issues and headaches and back issues and neck issues and
Right.
And where's all this coming from? Well, a lot of things, but the spiritual component is the anxiety, stress. It wears you down.
Yeah,
Wears you down.
absolutely.
It's an amazing thing.
I mean, and that says something to you. I mean, you've been so good at keeping your health just optimal. First of all, you always put that first as a big part of your life. And like, I need to get a little better at incorporating exercise. But I mean, you also have this bird watching shirt on, which I want to speak to because, when we speak, it's like I always feel as though you make time for these engagements, these things for your mind and your body to kind of reset. How do we get to a situation where we can bring more balance, physical and mental, together?
One way that I guess I stumbled upon is a lot of these sites have video.
Mm.
What you feed your mind is just as important or more important than what you feed your body. It's an amazing thing. But I get these videos, Jennifer, of these people who have lost a limb, who are in the Special Olympics. There's this one girl, she was in a car accident, and like every week, she's walking better. But I sit there and I cry because this kid, maybe she's 15, 16 years old. And in the beginning, she couldn't move her legs at all. Now she's getting up from a chair and she took a step and you could see her caregivers crying.
Oh my gosh.
It's absolutely beautiful. There's one boy who has, I don't know, multiple sclerosis or whatever. He's doing races. He's running. And and when you see these people
Mm.
who put themselves up, and they are limited in some physical way, but they don't let that stop them. Jennifer, it's unbelievable. And I can't sit back and say, oh no, I don't want to get off the soap. My God. So I would advise many, many people out there who are fearful and nervous and anxious, who don't believe that the universe is beautiful. I would advise you, find videos. There's a group of videos that I get that one is, I think, human kindness. Oh my God, it's the most beautiful thing I ever saw. One is about people who rescue dogs and
Oh,
animals. Another one is military people who come back and surprise their children. Jennifer,
oh.
you never cried so much in your life. Children who get dogs for like Christmas, they open the box and it's a puppy. And they just weep. They just weep. Jennifer, it's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely.
Well, it's great to do that because as you're speaking, I'm remembering a few of those things that I've seen, and it does automatically change your frequency.
Changes your face.
Because energy attracts, right? If we change our energy in some way, then we are allowing like a whole new actual future. We're inviting that in.
Yeah, without a doubt, honey. And if you do it with other people,
Yeah.
anything you do, if we can include others in it, that energy is fantastic.
Yeah.
It doubles, triples, quadruples, you know, our own motivation and our own desire and our own
Right.
goal, whatever. And anything like that, you could do with a partner or with a group. And if you make it fun,
Yeah.
so many of us have anxiety and fear and so forth and so on. You know what the number one thing to do when you're down and you're blue? Number one, dance.
Really? Yeah.
Done studies all over the place. Dancing is the number one pick me up when you're feeling blue. Dancing with another person makes it even more powerful. Dancing and singing with another person makes it even more powerful. You know where medicine was? Number six.
Really?
Six.
I love it.
Exercise was like three, but dancing, singing with another, well, even if you dance by yourself, it was up there, number one, I think. But whoever did these studies said, add other people to it, or one other person, and add singing to it. Your feeling blue will dissipate.
Well, tonight, speaking of dancing, I have tickets to go to a swing dance experience in the city.
Now, that is one of the best forms of dancing. Swing dance is great. You know why? Because it's touch dancing.
Yeah.
There's touching, there's spinning, there's laughing, there's
Yeah.
Jennifer. Your energy is going to take off like a rocket.
Ah, I hope.
I can't imagine what experience and opportunities are going to flow your way
Ah,
when energy's like that. It's just going to be incredible.
well, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring in like new experiences. A lot of the times when I feel like I get in a rut, it's when I just repeat the same thing over and over. And we do that for many good reasons, like to create traditions in our lives. But sometimes it's time to inject some kind of newness into it, you know? So I am looking forward to this experience. I think it'll be fun. They're gonna teach it to us first, and then we're gonna, break into our little party, and they have like a big band there. So yeah, yeah. It's funny that you say that because it's like literally tonight. And to know that it's number one, that's really reassuring. I love it.
Dancing, singing, companionship. They found with our brains are so complicated. They found with our brains that in order to create a new synapse, it's like 400 repetitions.
Mm.
But when you do it in play,
Mm.
it's like 20 repetitions
Oh my God.
because it connects the
Yeah.
muscles, the emotional center, the cognitive center, the social center, whatever centers in the brain are firing. it's all connected when you do something in play.
Yeah. Yeah.
We lost that sense.
I know.
Have lost the sense of play. It's a sad thing. I mean, a lot of adults have regained it when they have grandchildren.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens.
Children arrive, all of a sudden, the grumpy old guy or whatever,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, he's running around the playground with his grandkids. And this is how it works. It lifts our energy. But sometimes there's no grandkids. We got to
Yeah.
do it ourselves.
Yeah.
Go online, find where there's a dance studio, take a dance class. You meet lovely people.
Yeah.
Jennifer, my wife and I, maybe 3 or 4 years ago in Brazil, we went to this big hotel, Sheraton Hotel, because my wife said they have a samba dancing.
No.
Dance. Not only samba, but all kinds of dance.
Yeah.
Amazing. So we went. Jennifer, first of all, the place was packed. Second of all, there was about, I'd say 30 or 40 older ladies dancing with young men. They bring these men, nothing sexual at all.
Right.
They just want to dance.
Right.
Husbands have passed away. And these men, they spin these little ladies around for hours and hours. It's the cutest thing you've ever
Oh
seen.
my
Hey,
God.
they paid for it, but it's worth it because these women go home feeling like a teenager again,
Yeah. Yeah.
dancing and moving. And it's a wonderful thing to do. Jennifer, these are all ways that we can have a little bit more control over our brains.
Yes. True. True. One of the things that I did get a chance to review in a few of your IG clips were a few things that you were saying about making mistakes and learning from our mistakes. Because, a lot of times when we make mistakes, we beat ourselves up. And it's just like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. And it's really hard to move forward. So, after making a mistake, how can we really learn from it?
Yeah, if I could just start with the little story. I don't know if you saw it on, but they did these experiments with these pottery classes,
Mm-hmm.
and told some classes do one fantastic piece of pottery, do a masterpiece, and they told other classes do as many as you want. And maybe like after 6 weeks, they looked at the results, and those who did many different pieces did the best pottery
Mm-hmm.
because they made mistakes. We're supposed to make mistakes in life. I'm very sorry, but you're not supposed to be perfect. Trying to be perfect is sabotage.
Yeah.
It's self-sabotage because it's impossible. So the idea is, I mean, it takes practice, but accept the fact that I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to try something new. I'm going to make mistakes. One famous philosopher said, if you don't want to make mistakes, you don't want to be criticized, don't do anything, don't say anything, and don't try to be anything.
Mm.
Exist. Oh, I didn't make a mistake today. Yeah, but what'd you do? I put the TV on, I turned it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We are meant to make mistakes. That's how we grow. That's how we learn. Football coaches and coaches in sports, when you lose a game, that's when the kids learn the most. Okay,
Yeah.
look what we did wrong. Let's improve this. Famous story, honey. This guy, Kobe Bryant, was a famous basketball player who sadly died in a plane crash. When he was a rookie, he was one of the best players in the league. And in the last game of the year, championship game, he took the last 3 shots of the game and he missed them all. And he went to the bench and the other team was celebrating. His team was sad. He went to the bench, put his head in his hands, and he sat there for a minute or two. And then he picked his head up and he started walking to the locker room. And a reporter came over and said, Kobe, we saw you with your head in your hand. You must be so sad you missed those last 3 shots. He said, I sat down, I put my head in my hands because I wanted to learn. What can I do better next time that I'll make shots? So he wasn't feeling sorry for himself. Of course he felt bad. He lost the championship. But how could I make myself better for next time?
Yeah.
That was his thought. And that's why he was one of the greatest players in history.
Right.
Because his mistakes were stepping stones.
Yeah.
They propelled him to a higher level. So whatever mistakes we make, learn from them.
Right.
That's the idea. Some people don't learn from them.
Right. Right.
I know a young girl who I've talked to a bunch, and she's had four children from four different guys, something like that. And she just didn't learn when she was young. Now she did. Now she's
Mm.
been with this guy for like 25 years. Finally, she learned, not to be in any kind of an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes three or four times to learn. But for us, accept the fact that you're going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
Don't if you don't step out of that comfort zone, you are going to be the most boring person on this planet. And it's nobody else's fault but us.
I
Because
know.
we're not stepping into anything new, you
You know,
know?
I love this. I love the pottery example too, because, as an art teacher, this is what I see with the kids. They are very hesitant to do anything new or outside of their comfort or outside of their skill level. And I think to myself, like, how do you expect to even get to the skills if you don't repeat them and create, like make the mistakes along the way and then figure out what you did wrong? And I mean, that's part of the whole process. It's this sense of like such high judgment of oneself. I think so many people just don't want to make a mistake. They are thinking like, how can I be the most perfect person? And that's not reality. That's not, and it's not being fair to themselves. I mean, humans are made in these flawed ways.
Yeah.
And, making mistakes is part of the process I love, it's really about a growth process.
Yeah. Jennifer, sometimes we have to be bold,
Yeah.
have to be courageous. What am I going to do? Oh, but I'm afraid. Put your big boy pants on or put your big girl pants on and go for it. Go for it. Seize the day. There's so many quotes, but there are times that we just have to be bold. Jennifer, a girl who I work with and talk to, and she's a lovely girl. She happens to be gay, and she wants to be a mother, and she hemmed and hawed and hemmed and hawed. And she and I talk a lot, and she has a therapist too. And the therapist said to her, "Be bold." Well, she's like 3 months pregnant,
Oh,
and her life is now flowing. She's at a higher level of energy. She's visualizing motherhood. She's
no.
visualizing. She's buying cradles and cribs and painting the baby room, and she's not whining and moaning that she doesn't have a partner. She is in a positive flow, and it's lovely.
Wow.
Her whole personality has changed
Hmm.
because she's bold. She took
Yeah.
a step. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah. Taking that first step is very hard, but it takes self-esteem. And you did a whole bunch of like a series on your Instagram on self-esteem. Like we go through different stages of our lives and we might have self-esteem in certain stages and then it's obliterated if something else happens in another stage of our lives. I know I went through that. I was always filled with very high self-esteem. And then when I had that issue with, being on forced medication all those years, it really took a toll on me in terms of self-esteem. I did not really see the same person in myself that I had when I was young. So I think over many, many years, it came back for sure. But I definitely, needed to work at it. And I think a lot of people do. What are some of your pieces of advice for getting into that?
Some of the advice I gave was the one about what have you already overcome? What have you already succeeded in?
Yeah, yeah, that's a good.
What are your connections with the universe and whatever else? And looking at the fear, is this founded? Is this
Mm,
fear? Is this an unconscious thing that's going on with me? And one thing, Jennifer, I don't know if it applied to you, but it applies to so many people who I know, is that they've gotten into a habit of comparing.
mm,
It's a killer. It's a killer of joy.
yeah.
I saw this famous person. I think she was an actress or something. And they said to her, "How can you describe your adolescence?" or something like that. She said, "I could describe my adolescence in 3 words: compare and despair."
Ah,
Oh my God. she spent her life comparing, whether it's a brother or a sister, even a mother or father. My father was bigger than life. He was a bigger than life guy, but I never had any feeling of inferiority around him.
Mm.
Some people, their father, like some of these athletes, their children are confused. They can't live up to their father's level of whatever, or their mother was so beautiful and they're not as whatever it may be, brothers or sisters, or
Yeah.
children in the classroom. One thing we do, besides all the other stuff we talked about, we can avoid comparing.
Mm.
You are who you are. You have your unique abilities. Spiritual people believe we chose this life. We
Mm.
chose this path at this time to learn and grow and help others.
Yeah.
So another thing for self-esteem, Jennifer, is do whatever you can to make this world a better place.
Yeah.
Go to a soup kitchen, volunteer in a library, clean a park. My wife and I clean the park across the street from us. Fun. People join us. It's so much fun. Do something to get out of your own poor me, and get into more of service. It's a very, very
Yeah.
good thing and Christian thing. More of service to others. And this is a great way to get rid of a lot of your anxiety and low self-esteem, because people will thank you and people will join you. And,
Yeah.
I met my wife in a soup kitchen and I wasn't even looking. She wasn't even looking. She was going to go back to Brazil. But the universe conspires when you get out there. And, all these little things we said in the last two things, please don't compare and do something for somebody else. They have keep Rockland beautiful, and people go out there and they clean the beaches, they clean the parks. You meet some lovely people. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. Animal shelters, whatever you could do.
Yeah.
So uplifting to know you have power, you have a voice.
Yeah, I love that because, it changes what you're focusing on, And one of the things I read recently, it's like your life is a result of everything that you're paying attention to. So it's like pay attention to what you're paying attention to, We're not always aware. And that's part of being like really self-aware, like injecting that kind of like, oh, what is it that I keep ruminating on that's, keeping me in this situation, or maybe not a long-lasting situation, but possibly a mood that's affecting the rest of your day, right? Because you keep ruminating on something over and over. But it really does make you think because, if our life is what occurs as a result of everything that's in our minds, then how is it that we can kind of take back a little control? I think so many people feel out of control. It's hard, but I think this is part of the practice of having a healthy, mental state, and also like improving your outer life too, because people want to be involved with people like that who can kind of just ride with the flow of life, right?
Yeah. Because, Jennifer, number one, we are environments for other people. You
Yeah.
enter a room and the energy changes, hopefully positive. Oscar Wilde, who was a pretty mean guy sometimes, he said, some people spread joy wherever they go. Others spread joy whenever they go. We don't want to be that second person, Jennifer. We
Right.
want a positive environment. And Jennifer, you mentioned about your mind and so forth. Your mind is affected by not only the people who are around you and your environment. Some people, if you clean your house, clean your room, paint a room, you feel so much better. Clean the
Yeah.
car. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But Tony Robbins says, and I love Tony Robbins because he's so positive. He says, you're not depressed. You're not eating correctly.
Yeah.
You're not exercising. Clean the house.
Hmm.
Go take a walk. Buy some flowers. Call somebody up on the phone. Look at some positive videos. He is not going to sit back and say, oh, here, take a pill. You'll be
Right.
fine.
Right.
Get moving.
Right.
Improve your environment, improve whatever you got to improve, honey?
I love that. It's so important to remind people that, we have a lot of control over these states of mind.
Yeah,
And we have choice. We have choice. We're not just like, oh, well, this is the way I think, and I was born this way, and that's it. And thank God someone found the problem. And then we just sit there
yeah,
with it. Like once you buy into that, oh, your action doesn't make any difference,
right.
then that's what the way it's going to be in your life.
So many people, if they just made a change in their lifestyle, they wouldn't be on all this medication.
No, I know. I
Yeah,
know. And Mr. D, just for the record, I do want to say, and I know you know this, but I want to say just for the framework of this podcast, because it's 4 years in. When I first started this podcast, I was still on all of those. Well, I was on two meds at the time. And those meds were in my system for decades. Okay. And so I had finally made that decision, and my podcast documents it, that I was to taper. So as we sit here right now, I'm almost, what is it now? I think a year and a half, a year and a half without meds. I'm at that stage where, yeah, yeah. And again, I couldn't have gotten there without, I mean, I'm not perfect at practicing these ideas, okay? But I try to catch myself. And if I didn't have any of this knowledge, then I don't think I would have been as successful with the getting off the meds. So I am living proof that it can happen. If you bring something positive into your life, and especially the right kind of thinking, and it's a positive food choice, and just try to make that transition, you can stand on your own without these medications for these mental states. And
and of course, Jen, not to interrupt you, but you got to have
yeah,
a support. You have to have friends. You have to have connection.
absolutely, that is
Yeah.
like one of the biggest things. And I'm glad you brought that up, because when I did make that decision, that was 100% in place, also with like, counselors and doctors who were supporting me. So it's not something that anybody should take lightly, because it can be a little, you know, harrowing, but it can be done with that support system and with the right mindset. So, yeah, absolutely. Support systems and everywhere you can find them, in many different areas. I had them in nutrition. I had them in spiritual things. I had them in counseling. I had them in all different areas, yoga. So yeah, it's so important to make sure that you're supported in that way.
Because, Jen, we have to be careful with the people that we surround ourselves with.
Hmm.
Because, they have these planes, and the planes have a rocket on them, like a weather satellite on them. And the plane flies to a certain height, and it shoots the satellite to a far greater height. The plane can't go any higher.
Yeah.
The satellite's going to go much, much higher. So, with a person like you who has left that old Jennifer behind and is now evolving into a new and later Jennifer,
Mm,
back there, they helped you, but they couldn't go all the way with you. And sometimes they try to hold you back, not being mean.
right.
Somebody once said, don't tell a big idea to a small-minded person.
Mm,
Not that they're bad people, but they
right.
can't see that satellite height. They can't
Yeah.
see the height that you're going to. So
Right.
whether it's your family or friends or so forth, I'm sure there are people along the way that said, you sure you can do that?
Right.
You sure? And they're well-meaning,
Yes.
but they don't have that vision to
Right.
get up there as high as you can or anybody else can. So for everybody out there who's listening, we want you to have goals. We want you to shoot for the stars, and be supported, but be careful of those who are well-meaning, but they don't have your vision. They don't
Yes.
have that ability to fly as high as you want to fly. Nothing wrong with them. Hopefully
Right.
they help. They didn't hinder you, but they have to be let go at their level and they'll make do. And you got to keep going to your level, which is,
Yeah.
and you'll meet more and more people up there, you know.
I love that. I love that advice because, you know, some of us are afraid to be brilliant, you know, or afraid to, because, you know, a lot of the times when you go into that like level of expression in one way or another, you know, a lot of people find may leave you, right? Because they feel like maybe you know you are they can't connect to you anymore in one way or another, so people feel like they hold themselves back sometimes, and it's never that. We should always like be our most glorious selves, right? And people get there when they get there. Everyone has that capacity. It's hard to sometimes do because you know it's almost like people would rather choose to be well liked and loved by the people that they're used to all the time. But the joy level can be restrictive there.
Yeah, Jennifer, I mean, I taught in the inner city and I taught whatever. And there were so many times we had kids in the class who were so brilliant, so smart, and you're a nerd.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they got dumbed down. They
Yes.
call it dumbing down. Well, people do this in our lives, and many of them are well meaning. You're not going to, oh, yeah, whatever. Okay. But we got to just keep going to that trajectory that we can visualize, that we can envision in our life. It's a beautiful thing, beautiful thing. And Jennifer, back to you being 2.5 years off med. I get these things every day of people, and they have these little signs, and it says, I've been sober for 300 days. I've been sober. It's beautiful.
I love that.
Put it on Instagram. I've been off meds for 2.5 years. Put it on Instagram. You see how many likes you get.
Yeah. Yeah.
People respond with, way to go. I'm proud of you. All this kind of wonder. Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's a reminder that, like I say, I knew at one point when I started this podcast that I would possibly have to put action behind a lot of my words. And that meant putting kind of myself through a risky situation, because it's not to say that's not risky. You know, it is risky. Like if you've been on anything for a long time doing this kind of thing, that's why the supports are needed. But now that I'm so far into it and past that stage, it's such a reminder that I couldn't have done it without others who had done it and then shared, right? So when you do come out on the other side, the thing that you get beyond just the experience of wow, you know, I'm free from this, is this sense of I can help others now. I can help others do it because I didn't, you know, I only had a couple people to look up to. Like now I know it's possible and I can help others. And that just gives so much joy back on levels that you couldn't imagine. So it is interesting. Like there's lots of things when you're able to like finally make these changes that you're opening up your world in such a greater way, you know? Like I just keep going back to the fact that you are like a completely dedicated content creator now.
It's done out of love.
Oh,
I don't even care about the results. And that's another thing we try to avoid.
yeah,
Looking at the results, how many people, you just do it out of love.
right.
You found people who loved you, supported you, encouraged you. Look where you are and look where you're going.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
yeah.
And many of your listeners find that person who loves you for who you are, every fault you have. Big deal. Ooh.
Well, love is the answer, right? It always comes down to that.
Such a powerful force, unbelievably
It
powerful.
really, really is. It's so great when we remember that. It's just such a simple thing.
Yeah.
Mr. D, tell others how they could follow you and listen to all your great anecdotes. Where can they follow you on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook?
On TikTok, it's at intro number 2 spirituality.
Okay.
Facebook is Don DiBenedetto, and Instagram
I got it here. Don DiBenedetto, 1946.
Oh, perfect, honey. Yes.
One N, two T's. And I'll have all of this in the show notes.
Ah, good, honey, good. I love you, Jennifer.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. I'm always so thankful to have you aboard and sharing your wisdom and awesome stories.
Jennifer, be the fun in dysfunction.
I love it. Thanks for listening to Not As Crazy As You Think, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And remember, mental health is attainable for anyone, especially those labeled with mental illness. Until next time, peace out.